Silent Secrets by LeBron Keener. He was a quiet man, nothing particularly abnormal about him. He lived in the old apartment building, long since repurposed as a refuge for the wayfaring homeless. His clothes were second-hand and worn thin with tatter and fray. His hair was gray, perpetually uncombed. Yes, he was just like anyone else who occupied that rundown place. The only oddity was his stare. He never spoke. He only stared, his eyes tired, ancient. He never returned a salutation or a valediction, but regarded whoever acknowledged him with an almost ominous stillness. In fact, I never once saw him open his mouth. I was a tenant in the building, not homeless, but certainly wayward, adrift and in need of a new direction, a temporary replacement for a life I no longer recognized. The first time I saw him, he stood in the doorway of his room. I offered a friendly wave. He stared back, cold and unmoving. I dismissed it and walked away. But over the course of a week, the silence began to trouble me. The unbroken stare, the mouth that seemed sealed forever. What was his secret? Where had he come from? Why was he silent? The questions circled endlessly until curiosity finally overcame caution. I decided to follow him the next time he left the building. I waited near the main entrance all morning until, at last, he appeared, dressed in his usual ragged clothing. He walked down the sidewalk, and I followed at a careful distance. Eventually, he stopped before a storefront that had been closed since the 1920s. Dust filmed the boarded windows, and the old Art Deco trim sagged beneath rusted neon letters. Once it had been a swank and lavish restaurant, long since erased into memory. He pulled open the stainless steel door. It creaked in protest as he stepped inside. The door closed slowly behind him. I could not help myself. I opened the door and stepped into darkness. "Hello?" I called. The abandoned building flared to life. Red leather booths gleamed beneath warm light. Stainless trim shone. The patterned carpet was immaculate. Jazz-age music floated through the air. The restaurant was alive, full. Patrons filled the booths. A barkeep stood behind the bar, and waiters glided past with drinks and entrees. Every soul was dressed exactly as I had seen in old photographs. That was when she noticed me. From a booth near the dance floor, a flapper lifted her gaze and locked eyes with mine. The very instant the room transformed. Her lips were painted a vivid, sinful red, too rich to be natural. Her skin was milky white, smooth and luminous beneath the chandeliers. Heavy mascara framed her eyes, dark and dramatic, making them seem larger, deeper, hungry. She smiled slowly, deliberately, and raised her glass in a silent toast. Then she crossed her legs with unhurried grace, never breaking eye contact. A warmth spread through me, equal parts invitation and warning, and I realized too late that I had already been chosen. And then I saw him. He sat alone in a booth. His face was the same, yet younger. He wore a pinstripe suit and a bow tie. His hair was black and neatly parted, his pencil mustache sharp and deliberate. Before him sat a glass of wine, the deepest red I had ever seen. I approached and sat across from him. Neither of us spoke. We stared at the glass until he finally looked up. In that moment, I saw the truth. His lips parted just enough to reveal a forked tongue and razor-sharp fangs. I turned slowly. Every patron bore the same marks. The flapper laughed softly behind me, a sound like silk tearing. When I looked again, blood stained her red lips, trailing down her chin as she drank from her glass. Her mascara dark eyes glittered as she rose and began walking toward me, her heels clicking in a slow, deliberate rhythm. Then I understood my fate. The woman, beautiful and terrible, stood over me, staring. I looked back at the man across from me, his smile, fangs glistening, his forked tongue flicking forward. The bite came instantly. Fangs pierced my neck as a wine glass was lifted to collect my blood. I should have run, but instead a strange calm washed over me. I felt as though I belonged there. The taste of blood became something I did not merely crave, but required. When I found myself once more among the ruins of the empty restaurant, it felt like waking from a dream. I never saw the man again. I still live in the old apartment building. I do not speak to anyone. I do not smile. And I never open my mouth, for I cannot bear the thought of anyone seeing what I have become. But sometimes late at night, when the hallway lights flicker and the building settles into uneasy quiet, I feel eyes upon me. In the darkened glass of the stairwell window, I catch my reflection, and for just a breath, another face lingers beside it. Milky white skin, heavy lashed eyes, red lips curved in a familiar knowing smile. She lifts an imaginary glass in silent toast. Then the light steadies, the reflection vanishes, and I understand at last. Silence was never his secret. It was survival, a replacement.